Hello everyone. This week we'll be focused on fractions and decimals. Remember, both are friendly. So if I think about a decimal, so if I have a decimal, remember it's not 0.05, this would be 5/100ths. So 5/100ths would be written as 5/100ths, just like it sounds. If you had 3/10ths, it's written as 3/10ths. Now, what's cool about fractions are somebody gave you 1/4, well 1/4 is the same as 25/100ths, so as a decimal, 1/4 is 25/100ths. So you can think about how fractions can be converted back the other way. Now, when you go to put decimals in order from least to greatest, if you had a bunch of decimals, well, the friendly thing to do is say, okay, right now we have 3/10ths, 35/100ths, 5/100ths. Well, let's first put them all into the same place value. So they're all in the hundreds. So 30, so we'd have 30/100ths, 35/100ths, and 5/100ths. So what's the smallest? Well, 5/100ths, then 30/100ths, then 35/100ths. So again, I would always convert them into the same unit. So if they're in thousands, put them all in thousands. If they're in tenths, put them, whatever you need to, hundreds, whatever you need to do. And then say, okay, well, what's smallest? Well, 5 is smallest. 30 would be next. 35 would be next. Also, when it comes time to putting them onto a number line, and if they're given to you as fractions and decimals. So if you had, let's say, 1 3/10ths, 35/100ths, 5/8ths, okay. One and 1/4. What some people like to do is they'll convert 5/8ths into what is that as a decimal, 1 and 1/4, what's that as a decimal, and then they put it on. Or another way to think about it is say, well, wait a second. If I have my number line, okay, my smallest value is 35/100ths. The reason I know it's 35/100ths is because 5/8ths is larger than 4/8ths, and 4/8ths is 1/2. So if again, think about what I did. Say, I don't know, if I don't know what 5/8ths is, I do know what 4/8ths is, which is 1/2. When it's 1/2, 35/100 is smaller than 1/2. So that's one way to do it. Or another way to do it is think about strategically with 5/8ths is say, well, 5/8ths is 5 1/8ths. And isn't 1/8 half of 1/4? Because if I did 1/8, it's 1/8. That'd be 2/8, which is 1/4. And if 1/4 is 25/100ths, what's half of 25/100ths? Wouldn't it be 12.5, which would be 125 thousandths? So again, just something to think about when you start to break down numbers. So in this order, we would say, well, wait a second, we don't need to go change all these because we know 35/100ths is our smallest. Then we know we have 5/8ths. Then we know, well, 1 and 1/4 is 1 and 25/100ths. And 1 and 3/10ths. Now, questions say, okay, we put them in order from least to greatest, are they proportional? Well, 35/100ths is there. We know that's about 4, yeah, pretty close. I mean, it's not perfect, but it gives you the idea. But again, you have a choice to make. Do you make them into decimals, or do you make them into fractions, and then do you map it out based on what you want to do? And then also remember, if you're multiplying and or dividing with fractions. So if somebody says to you that you have 35/100ths multiplied times 100. Well, when we multiply, numbers get bigger, so the zeros are telling us we're moving it over 2 places because it's 3,500 is done out 100 times. So 35 hundredths times 100 is actually 35. Now what if we would have had 425 thousandths divided by 100? Well, now we divide, the number's getting smaller. It's getting smaller. It's 100 times smaller. So we're moving the place over 2 places to the left to make it smaller. So 425 thousandths divided by 100 is actually 100 times smaller. So we're adding the 2 zeros to represent the hundreds place we moved over. So if you think about it, we're left with tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000 hundredths. So now we have 425 hundred thousandths instead of 425 thousandths. So just remember, multiplication number is getting bigger, division number is getting smaller, and remember what to do. Hopefully that gives you a little guidance for this week's lesson.